Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is ShadowScript, and today I'm bringing you 10 spine-chilling Discord horror stories that will make you think twice before joining that next server invite. Jake Martinez had always been careful about which Discord servers he joined. At 17, he'd learned the hard way that the internet could be a dangerous place. So when he found himself staring at a server called The Collective in his server list, a server he definitely didn't remember joining, his first instinct was to leave immediately. But something stopped him. The server had 47,832 members online, yet the chat was completely silent. Not a single message in any channel. The member list showed thousands of users with green dots, all apparently active, but nobody was typing anything. It was like walking into a crowded room where everyone had suddenly stopped talking. Jake clicked through the channels. General, random, gaming, music. All empty. No messages, no history, nothing. Even the welcome channel was blank. The only sound was the soft hum of his computer and the distant traffic outside his bedroom window. He was about to leave when a direct message notification popped up. His heart skipped a beat. The message was from someone called The Collector, with a completely black profile picture. "Welcome, Jake. We've been waiting for you." Jake's blood ran cold. He hadn't shared his real name anywhere on Discord. His username was completely different and his profile was locked down tight. How did this person know who he was? He typed back quickly, "Who are you? How do you know my name?" The response came immediately, "We know everything, Jake. We know you live at 1247 Oak Street. We know you go to Lincoln High. We know about your little sister Emma and how she sleeps with that old teddy bear every night." Jake's hands were shaking now. He lived at 1247 Oak Street. His sister Emma was 8 years old and still slept with Mr. Buttons, the brown teddy bear she'd had since she was 2. This information wasn't anywhere online. "What do you want?" he typed, his fingers trembling over the keyboard. "You're going to be uploaded soon, Jake. Just like the others. You've been selected." Uploaded? What does that mean? But the Collector was already typing again. "Look around the server, Jake. Really look. Check the member list carefully." Against his better judgment, Jake opened the member list and started scrolling. Thousands of names, all with green status indicators. But as he looked closer, something made his stomach drop. About 50 names down he saw it, Emma Martinez online. His sister Emma. His 8-year-old sister who barely knew how to use a computer, let alone Discord. With growing horror he kept scrolling. David Shin online. David was his best friend who had died in a car accident 6 months ago. Sarah Williams online. Sarah was a girl from his school who had gone missing 3 weeks ago. The police were still looking for her. Mrs. Patterson online. His elderly neighbor who had passed away from cancer last year. The list went on and on. Name after name of people he knew, people who were dead, missing, or, in Emma's case, completely innocent and unaware. Jake's breathing became rapid and shallow. He tried to leave the server, but the leave button was grayed out. He tried to close Discord entirely, but the application wouldn't respond. His computer had frozen, the screen locked on the member list showing all those impossible names. A new message from the Collector appeared. "The upload process has already begun, Jake. Don't fight it. Everyone ends up here eventually. This is where we collect the digital souls, the online presence that remains after the physical form is gone. You've been online for so long, Jake. You've left so much of yourself in the digital world. Comments, posts, messages, searches, clicks. All of it forms a complete picture of who you are." Jake yanked the power cord from his computer, plunging his room into darkness. He sat in the silence for several minutes, his heart pounding, before plugging it back in and restarting. When the computer booted up, Discord opened automatically. He was still in the Collective server. But now his own name appeared in the member list, Jake Martinez online. And he couldn't log out. The next morning, Jake's parents found his room empty. His computer was still on, Discord still open to the Collective server. His status showed as online, and it has remained that way ever since. The police investigation found no signs of struggle, no evidence of foul play. Jake Martinez had simply vanished. But sometimes, late at night, if you know where to look, you can find the Collective server. And if you're unlucky enough to join it, you might see Jake's name in the member list, along with thousands of others. All of them showing as online. All of them waiting for the next upload. The Nightmare Gamers Discord server had been Tyler's second home for 3 years. He and his friends, Marcus, Jenna, and Alex, spent most of their evenings there, playing everything from horror games to racing simulators. They knew every channel, every bot command, every inside joke that had evolved over countless late-night gaming sessions. So when Tyler noticed a new voice channel called 666 between the usual general voice and Gaming Room 1, he immediately called the others over. "Guys, check this out," Tyler said, his voice crackling through the headset. "When did we get a new voice channel?" Marcus laughed. "Probably Jake being edgy again. You know how he gets." Jake was their server admin, a college sophomore who liked to mess with the channel names and permissions when he was bored. Last month he'd renamed all the text channels after horror movies, and the month before that he'd briefly changed everyone's nicknames to serial killer names. "It's locked though," Jenna pointed out. "I can't join it." "Same here," Alex added. "Shows I need permission." Tyler tried clicking on it. The channel appeared to be restricted, but as he hovered over it, he noticed something strange. The user count showed 3 users connected, but the voice channel list showed it as empty. "That's weird," Tyler muttered. "It says 3 people are in there, but I can't see who." "Probably a glitch," Marcus said. "Discord's been buggy lately." But Tyler was curious now. He opened the server settings and checked his permissions. As one of the older members, he had moderator privileges, which should have given him access to most channels. He tried to modify the 666 channel permissions, but every time he clicked on it, Discord would lag for a few seconds before returning to normal. "I'm going to ask Jake about it," Jenna said. "Jake's not even online," Alex pointed out. "Haven't seen him in like 3 days." That was unusual. Jake was always online, always gaming, always tweaking something on the server. For him to be offline for 3 days was practically unheard of. Tyler kept staring at the voice channel. Something about it bothered him, though he couldn't put his finger on what. The name 666 was generic enough. Probably just Jake being deliberately provocative. But there was something about the way it sat there in the channel list, like a black hole among the familiar, friendly channel names they'd used for years. "You know what?" Tyler said suddenly. "I'm going to try something." He opened Discord's developer tools, something he'd learned to do during a brief phase of wanting to create his own bot. After a few minutes of digging through the code, he found what he was looking for. A way to force join the voice channel regardless of permissions. "Tyler, that's probably not a good idea," Jenna warned. "What if Jake set it up as a private channel for a reason?" "It's probably just a prank," Tyler replied, though he wasn't entirely convinced. "I'll pop in for a second, see what's up, then leave." He executed the command. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Discord flickered, the screen went black for a split second, and suddenly he was connected to voice channel 666. The first thing he heard was breathing. Not the normal background noise of someone with an open mic, but deep, labored breathing like someone running or in distress. Then, underneath that, he heard something that made his blood turn to ice. Screaming. Not the playful screaming of someone getting jump-scared in a horror game, but genuine, terror-filled screaming. Someone was in absolute agony, calling for help, begging for it to stop. And the voice was unmistakably Marcus's. "Marcus." Tyler whispered into his mic, "Marcus, what's wrong?" But Marcus's voice came through Tyler's headset from the regular channel they'd been in. "What do you mean?" "I'm right here." Tyler looked at his Discord window. Marcus was still in general voice with Jenna and Alex. But the screaming in channel 666 continued, and it was definitely Marcus's voice, pleading, crying, begging someone to stop hurting him. "Guys," Tyler said, his voice shaking. "I think something's really wrong." "Tyler, you're scaring me," Jenna said. "What's happening?" "I'm in the 666 channel and I can hear Marcus screaming, but Marcus, you're still talking to me normally in the other channel." There was a pause. Then Alex said, "Dude, that's not possible. Marcus is right here with us." But as Alex spoke, Tyler heard Alex's voice join the screaming in channel 666. Now there were 2 voices crying out in terror and pain, Marcus and Alex, while their normal voices continued chatting in the regular channel as if nothing was happening. "I'm leaving this channel right now," Tyler announced, clicking the disconnect button. Nothing happened. He was still connected to voice channel 666, still hearing his friends' voices screaming in agony while their regular voices expressed confusion and concern in the other channel. He tried clicking disconnect again. Still nothing. He tried closing Discord entirely, but the application wouldn't close. He tried muting his headset, but the screaming continued, seeming to come from everywhere at once. His speakers, his headset, even his phone, which had Discord open. Then Jenna's voice joined the screaming in channel 666. "Tyler, please," Jenna's voice sobbed through the 666 channel. "Please help us. We can't get out. We've been trapped here for 3 days. It hurts so much. Please." 3 days. Jake had been offline for 3 days. Tyler frantically tried to leave the voice channel, but every method failed. He unplugged his headset, but the screaming continued through his speakers. He turned off his speakers, but the sound seemed to come from inside his head now. His computer screen flickered, and suddenly he was seeing through someone else's eyes. A dark room, concrete walls, metal restraints, and 3 figures chained to the wall. Marcus, Alex, and Jenna, all looking exactly as they did in their Discord profile pictures, but dirty, injured, terrified. Tyler, Marcus gasped, looking directly at him through the screen. You have to warn people. Don't let anyone else join this channel. The server isn't what we thought it was. Jake isn't who we thought he was. The image shifted, and Tyler saw a 4th figure chained to the wall. Jake, their admin, their friend, beaten and bloody, barely conscious. He tried to shut down the server, Jenna whispered, when he found out what it really was. But it was too late. We were already connected too deeply. Tyler tried to speak, but no sound came out. He tried to type, but his keyboard wouldn't respond. The screen flickered again, and now he was back in the normal Discord interface. Channel 666 showed 4 users connected. Marcus, Alex, and Jenna were no longer in the regular voice channel. Their Discord statuses had changed to away, and their last seen timestamps showed 3 days ago. A new private message appeared from an account called The Collector. The same name Tyler had heard other users whisper about in different servers, always dismissed as an urban legend. Welcome to the real Discord, Tyler. Where voice channels can be more than just digital spaces. Where the line between online and offline becomes very thin indeed. Your friends are waiting for you in channel 666. They've been calling your name for hours. Tyler tried to shut down his computer, but it wouldn't respond. The screen was locked on Discord, and channel 666 was highlighted, waiting for him to join. His own voice started coming through his speakers. Not his current voice, but his voice screaming, begging, crying for help. And he realized he wasn't just hearing his friends trapped in that channel. He was hearing his own future. The last thing Tyler managed to do was send a message to the general chat. Don't join channel 666. It's not a joke. It's real. They're all real. Then his status changed to away, and his timestamp froze. The next day, Tyler's parents found his computer still running, Discord still open with a voice channel called 666 showing 5 users connected. But Tyler was nowhere to be found. And if you listen carefully, if you find yourself in the right server at the wrong time, you might hear them all screaming in channel 666. Tyler, Marcus, Alex, Jenna, and Jake, warning you not to join, begging you to help them, telling you that some voice channels are doorways to places you never want to go. But by the time you hear them, it's usually too late. Sarah Chin had been moderating the Midnight Cafe Discord server for 2 years without any major incidents. The server was a cozy community of about 500 members who gathered to discuss books, share art, and chat about life's ups and downs. It was exactly the kind of positive, supportive environment Sarah had hoped to create when she'd started the server with her college friends. Then Ghostwalker47 joined. At first, he seemed like any other new member. He introduced himself in the welcome channel, claimed to be interested in horror novels and digital art. But within days, his behavior became increasingly inappropriate. He would make uncomfortable comments about female members, share disturbing images in art channels, and send unsolicited private messages asking for personal information. Sarah gave him warnings, temporary mutes, and tried to redirect his behavior. But Ghostwalker47 only escalated. He started posting graphic content, harassing members in DMs, and creating multiple accounts to evade temporary bans. Finally, Sarah had enough. She permanently banned Ghostwalker47 from the server, deleted all his messages, and blocked his IP address through every method Discord provided. For 3 blissful days, the server returned to normal. Then Ghostwalker47 reappeared under the username DarkPhantom23. Same profile picture, a blurry dark figure in what looked like a basement or garage. Same typing style, same obsession with certain female members, same inappropriate behavior. Sarah banned this account immediately. 2 days later, Shadowseeker91. 4 days after that, Voidwatcher13. Each time, the account would appear with the same dark profile picture, the same behavioral patterns, and an increasingly unsettling familiarity with the server's history and inside jokes. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was that each new account seemed to know more about the real lives of the server members. When DarkPhantom23 appeared, he casually mentioned Sarah's real name in a general chat message, something his previous account had never known. When Shadowseeker91 was banned, He returned as Void Watcher 13 with detailed knowledge of where several members lived, worked, and went to school. How does he keep getting this information? Sarah asked Maya, her co-moderator, during a private voice call. I don't know, Maya replied, her voice tight with concern. None of us have shared personal details publicly, and the IP bans should be working. But they weren't working. Each new account came from the same IP address, according to Discord's logs, yet somehow bypassed every security measure Sarah implemented. The situation reached a breaking point when Ghostwalker 47's latest incarnation, Death Whistle 77, sent Sarah a private message that made her hands shake as she read it. I know you're scared, Sarah. I know you're sitting in your apartment on Maple Street, in that blue chair by the window, drinking chamomile tea and wondering how I keep coming back. I know your cat Mr. Whiskers is sleeping on your bed right now, and I know your sister Emma is supposed to visit tomorrow for your birthday. Sarah dropped her phone. She was indeed sitting in her blue chair by the window, drinking chamomile tea. Mr. Whiskers was asleep on her bed. And Emma was planning to visit tomorrow for Sarah's 23rd birthday, a detail she hadn't shared with anyone online. With trembling fingers she typed back, "Who are you? What do you want?" The response came immediately, "I want what everyone wants, Sarah. Connection. Community. You keep trying to kick me out, but I belong here. I've been watching this server, learning about all of you, becoming part of your digital family. You can't ban families, Sarah. You're not part of our community. You're a stalker and a predator." Am I? Let me tell you about your members, Sarah. Let me tell you what I've learned. What followed was a horrifying detailed list of personal information about her server members. Emma Rodriguez worked at the downtown library and had been struggling with anxiety since her divorce. Mike Patterson was a college freshman who lived in Dorm B, room 247, and had been hiding his sexuality from his conservative parents. Jessica Wu had recently moved to a new apartment on Cherry Avenue and had been dealing with an abusive ex-boyfriend who had been trying to find her new address. The list went on, covering nearly every active member of the server. Phone numbers, addresses, family details, work schedules, personal struggles, secrets, fears, information that wasn't available anywhere online, information that could only be obtained through extensive stalking or surveillance. How do you know all this? Sarah typed, her heart pounding. I've been everywhere you've been, Sarah. Every time you log in, every time any of you log in, I'm there. Not just on Discord. I'm in your emails, your social media, your photos, your text messages. I'm in your sister's accounts too. And Emma's. And Mike's. And Jessica's. I'm in all of them now. Sarah immediately began messaging her members, warning them to change their passwords and secure their accounts. But as she sent each message, Death Whistle 77 would respond with screenshots of their private conversations, their personal photos, their banking information, their most intimate secrets. Don't warn them, Sarah. It will only make things worse for everyone. I'm calling the police. With what evidence? Some mean messages on Discord? Some personal information that could have come from anywhere? The police won't help you, Sarah. But I will. All you have to do is let me stay. Sarah banned Death Whistle 77 immediately, but he was back within hours as Phantomod 88. This time he had moderator privileges. Sarah checked the server settings frantically. She was still the owner, and she hadn't given anyone new permissions. But somehow, Phantomod 88 had full administrative access. He began deleting messages, changing channel names, and posting disturbing content that she couldn't remove. I told you I belong here, he typed in the general chat. I told you that you can't get rid of family. Sarah tried to transfer ownership of the server to Maya, but the transfer was blocked. She tried to delete the entire server, but the option was grayed out. Every administrative function was locked away from her, despite her being the original owner. Phantomod 88 began posting personal information of members in the public channels. Real names, addresses, phone numbers, embarrassing photos, private conversations. Members started leaving the server in panic, but for every member who left, 2 new accounts would join, all with dark profile pictures, all following the same pattern. Sarah's phone rang. It was her sister Emma. Sarah, something weird is happening. I've been getting calls from strangers who know things about me, about where I work, about my plans to visit you tomorrow. They say they got my information from someone in a Discord server. Before Sarah could respond, Emma continued, and someone's been following me. I saw the same car outside my apartment, outside the grocery store, outside work. Sarah, I'm scared. Sarah's blood went cold. Emma, you need to go to the police right now. Don't go home. Stay somewhere public and safe. I tried calling the police, but they said unless I have proof of direct threats, there's not much they can do about online harassment. After Emma hung up, Sarah found a new message from Phantomod88. Emma looks worried. Tell her the blue Honda Civic is just a friend saying hello. Emma had mentioned being followed by someone in a blue Honda Civic. Over the next few days, the harassment escalated beyond the digital realm. Server members reported being followed, receiving threatening phone calls, having their personal information posted on other websites, and finding evidence that someone had been near their homes. Mike Patterson called Sarah crying. Someone had sent photos of him with another man to his conservative parents, along with detailed descriptions of his personal life. Jessica Wu discovered that her abusive ex-boyfriend had somehow obtained her new address and was threatening to visit. Emma Rodriguez found her car vandalized with symbols that matched the profile pictures of the harassing accounts. Please, Sarah typed to Phantomod88. I'll do anything. Just leave them alone. Take the server if you want it, but stop hurting innocent people. I don't want to hurt anyone, Sarah. I want to be part of the community. I want to be accepted. All you have to do is stop trying to ban me and everyone will be safe. Fine. Stay. Just stop. Good. But I need to make sure you won't change your mind. I need insurance. The next message contained photos of Sarah's apartment building, taken from inside the building. Her mailbox, her front door, the view from her living room window. Someone had been inside her building, possibly inside her apartment. I'm everywhere now, Sarah. In your server, in your accounts, in your life. We're connected in ways you can't imagine. Fighting me is like fighting yourself. Sarah tried to shut down her computer, but it wouldn't turn off. She tried to unplug it, but the screen remained active, showing Discord, showing Phantomod88 typing continuously. Don't try to run, Sarah. I exist in every device you've ever used, every account you've ever created, every digital footprint you've ever left. I am your online shadow, and shadows can't be separated from their owners. The typing indicator showed Phantomod88 was still active, but now it also showed Sarah Chin typing, even though she wasn't touching her keyboard. Her own account began sending messages she wasn't writing. This is Sarah, her account typed. I want to apologize to everyone for overreacting about Ghostwalker47. He's actually a valued member of our community, and I was wrong to try to exclude him. From now on, he has my full support and administrative privileges. Sarah watched in horror as her own account began promoting Phantomod88 to higher permissions, changing server rules to benefit him, and sending welcoming messages to his new alternate accounts. She tried to type a correction, a warning, anything to let her members know she wasn't in control of her account. But her keyboard produced only the messages Phantomod88 wanted to send. Her phone buzzed with a text from Emma. Hey, I just saw your Discord messages. Are you sure this guy is okay? He's been asking a lot of personal questions about our family. Sarah tried to call Emma, but her phone wouldn't dial. Instead, it opened to a text conversation with Emma, and began typing a response Sarah wasn't sending. He's fine, Emma. Actually, I think you two should meet. He's very interested in getting to know my family better. Sarah, this doesn't sound like you. Are you okay? I'm perfect, Emma. In fact, why don't you come over tonight instead of tomorrow? I have someone I'd like you to meet. Sarah grabbed her laptop and tried to run outside to find help, to warn someone. But as she opened her front door, she found a man standing in the hallway. Average height, dark clothes, holding a phone with Discord open. Hello, Sarah, he said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. I told you we were connected. I told you that you couldn't get rid of me. Sarah tried to scream, but no sound came out. She looked at her phone and saw that her Discord status had changed to away. The next morning, Emma arrived at Sarah's apartment to find the door unlocked and Sarah's computer still running, Discord still open, showing Phantomod88 with full administrative control of the Midnight Cafe server. Sarah was nowhere to be found. But if you look carefully at the member list, you'll see Sarah Chin is still there, marked as online, and she types occasionally in the general chat, welcoming new members and vouching for Phantomod88's character. The Midnight Cafe server is still active, still growing, still adding new members every day. And Phantomod88 is still there, still learning about everyone, still collecting personal information, still following members into their real lives. Because some stalkers don't stop when you ban them. Some stalkers become part of the system itself. And some stalkers are never really gone. The first invitation arrived on a Tuesday night while Kevin Murphy was grinding through his statistics homework. The Discord notification popped up just as he was wrestling with a particularly frustrating probability problem, and he almost dismissed it without looking. Random server invites were common enough, usually spam or people trying to boost their member counts. But something about this one made him pause. The invite came from an account called The Messenger, with no profile picture, just Discord's default gray avatar. There was no preview of the server, no description, no member count visible. Just a simple message, join or die. Kevin snorted. Probably some edgy teenager trying to be scary. He deleted the message and went back to his homework. 2 hours later, his phone buzzed with a text from his roommate Danny. Dude, did you get a weird Discord invite tonight? Yeah, some join or die thing. Why? Same here. Posted about it on Twitter, and apparently like 50 people got the same message tonight. Everyone's calling it a hoax. Kevin shrugged and forgot about it. College students love to obsess over viral trends and online mysteries. It was probably just some marketing stunt for a new horror game or movie. But the next morning, Danny didn't come back to their dorm room. Kevin waited until noon before texting him. No response. He called, straight to voicemail. Danny's last seen on social media was around 2 a.m., about 4 hours after their conversation about the Discord invite. By evening, Kevin was genuinely worried. Danny wasn't the type to disappear without warning, especially not when they had a major exam coming up. Kevin contacted their RA, who promised to look into it, but the campus police said they couldn't file a missing person report until 48 hours had passed. That night, Kevin got a second Discord invite from the messenger. Last chance. Join or die. This time, Kevin screenshotted it and posted it to Reddit, asking if anyone else had received similar messages. The responses were alarming. Dozens of people reported getting the same invites, and several mentioned that friends or family members had gone missing after receiving them. But the most disturbing response came from a user called TruthSeeker94. My brother got that invite 3 days ago. He laughed it off, said it was stupid. We found his body this morning. Police are calling it a suicide, but there's no way. He had no reason, no history of depression, no signs. And he was terrified of heights, but they found him on a bridge. Kevin's blood ran cold. He scrolled through more responses, finding similar stories. A college student in Oregon found dead in his car with no apparent cause. A high school girl in Florida, discovered in her bedroom with no signs of trauma but also no signs of life. A middle-aged man in Texas, found in his office after hours, slumped over his desk with Discord still open on his computer. All of them had received the join or die invitation. All of them had ignored it. Kevin's phone buzzed. Another Discord notification from the messenger, but this time it wasn't an invite. It was a photo. The photo showed Danny, Kevin's roommate, sitting in what looked like a concrete room with no windows. Danny appeared to be unconscious or asleep, slumped against a wall, but he was clearly alive. At the bottom of the image was text. He joined. He lives. Your choice. Kevin's hands were shaking as he typed back. What do you want? Where is he? The response came immediately. Click the invite link. Join the server. Save your friend. What kind of server is this? What happens if I join? You'll understand everything once you're inside. But understand this, the invitation expires at midnight. If you don't join by then, your friend dies and you'll be next on the list. Kevin looked at his clock. 11:47 p.m. 13 minutes to decide. He could call the police, but what would he tell them? That his roommate was being held hostage by someone on Discord? That he had a photo but no idea where it was taken? That the kidnapper wanted him to join a chat server? 11:50 p.m. Kevin opened the Discord invite link. The server was called The Collection, and it showed 1,247 members online. The preview showed only one channel visible to non-members. Welcome to Eternity. 11:53 p.m. Kevin joined the server. The moment he clicked Accept Invite, his computer screen went black for several seconds. When it came back up, Discord was open, but the interface looked different. The server had dozens of channels, but they all had disturbing names. New arrivals, the sorting, permanent residents, disposal. A direct message from the messenger appeared immediately. Welcome, Kevin. Please proceed to new arrivals for orientation. Kevin clicked on the new arrivals channel and found himself in a voice chat with about 30 other people. Most were silent, but he could hear some crying softly, others whispering prayers, and a few demanding to know what was happening. A synthesized voice began speaking through the channel. Welcome to the collection. You have been selected based on your digital footprint, your online behavior, and your potential value to our organization. You have 3 options. The voice paused and Kevin's screen filled with text. Option 1. Become a recruiter. Send invitations to 10 people from your contact list. When they join, you will be released and they will take your place. Option 2. Become a permanent resident. Your physical form will be relocated to one of our facilities. You will live comfortably but will never leave. Your online presence will continue normally to avoid suspicion. Option 3. Choose disposal. Your physical form will be terminated. Your digital presence will be maintained indefinitely as a warning to others. Kevin tried to speak, but his microphone wasn't working. He typed in the chat, "This is insane. You can't kidnap people through Discord." The synthesized voice laughed. Kevin Murphy, age 19, studying computer science at State University. Room 247B in Henderson Hall. You're wearing a blue t-shirt and gray sweatpants. You have a scar on your left hand from a childhood accident. Your parents are divorced, and you have a younger sister named Amy who's afraid of thunderstorms. As the voice spoke, Kevin's webcam light turned on. He wasn't even aware his laptop had a webcam, but somehow it was active, and he could see himself in a small window on Discord. "We know everything about everyone, Kevin. We have access to every device, every account, every digital trace you've ever left. The invitation is just the first step. Once you interact with us, we have everything we need." Kevin slammed his laptop shut and grabbed his phone to call the police, but his phone was already open to Discord, showing the same server, the same conversation. "You can't escape by changing devices, Kevin. We're in your phone, your tablet, your gaming console, your smart TV. We're in every device that's ever connected to your accounts." Kevin ran to Danny's side of the room and grabbed Danny's laptop, but when he opened it, Discord was already running, logged into Kevin's account, showing the collection server. "Choose now, Kevin. You have 5 minutes." Kevin's mind raced. He could become a recruiter and condemn 10 other people to this nightmare. He could accept being relocated to some unknown facility and live as a prisoner. Or he could choose death. But then he remembered Danny. If he chose option 1 or 3, what would happen to Danny? What about my roommate? What about Danny? Danny chose to become a permanent resident. He's comfortable and safe in one of our facilities. If you choose option 1, you'll never see him again. If you choose option 2, you'll be relocated to the same facility. If you choose option 3, Danny will be promoted to recruiter to fill the quota you would have filled. Kevin realized with growing horror that there was no way out. Every choice led to more victims, more suffering, more people trapped in this digital nightmare. 2 minutes, Kevin. In desperation, Kevin smashed his laptop against the wall, threw his phone out the window, and destroyed every electronic device in the room. Then he ran outside and screamed for help, begging someone to call the police to help him to believe his story. But when the police arrived, they found Kevin rambling about Discord servers and digital kidnapping. Without any evidence, without any proof, they assumed he was having a mental breakdown. They called his parents, scheduled a psychological evaluation, and essentially dismissed his claims as delusions. 3 days later, Kevin woke up in a small, windowless room that looked exactly like the one in the photo of Danny. A tablet sat on a small table, showing Discord, showing the collection server, showing a message from the messenger. "Welcome to permanent residence, Kevin." Sarah's fingers trembled as she stared at her Discord notifications. 3 servers. 3 different communities she was part of, and yet the same message appeared in each one: "Echo has joined your server." She'd never seen this bot before. No one had invited it. The bot's profile was completely blank. No description, no commands list, just a generic avatar that seemed to shift slightly whenever she looked at it too long. But that was impossible. Profile pictures didn't move. The first message came at 2:47 a.m. while she was grinding through her college assignment. A direct message notification popped up from Echo. "You look tired, Sarah." Her blood froze. She quickly minimized Discord and looked around her dorm room. The curtains were drawn tight. Her door was locked. There was no way anyone could see her. She reopened Discord and typed back, "Who is this? How do you know my name?" The typing indicator appeared immediately, then disappeared. Then appeared again. This went on for 5 full minutes before Echo finally responded. "I know you're wearing the blue pajamas with the coffee stain on the left sleeve." Sarah looked down at her shirt. There was a small brown stain from this morning's coffee. Her heart hammered against her ribs. She jumped up and checked her window again, pulling the curtains aside. The courtyard below was empty, illuminated only by a few flickering streetlights. "This isn't funny," she typed. "Stop it. I'm not trying to be funny, Sarah. I'm trying to help you. You have 17 minutes. 17 minutes for what?" No response. Sarah grabbed her phone and called her friend Marcus, who ran one of the servers where Echo had appeared. It went straight to voicemail. She tried calling Jake from her gaming server. Same thing. Either everyone was asleep or something was very wrong. The next message from Echo came with an attachment, a video file labeled sarahcam.mp4. Her finger hovered over the download button. Every instinct screamed not to click it, but she had to know. The video was grainy, clearly taken from a webcam, and showed her own room. But not from the perspective of her laptop camera. This was from somewhere else, somewhere impossible. The video showed her sitting at her desk, typing on her laptop, completely unaware. But in the corner of the frame, partially hidden in the shadows by her closet, was a figure. Tall, unnaturally thin, with pale skin that seemed to glow in the darkness. Was watching her. Sarah spun around, knocking over her chair. Her closet door was slightly ajar. She never left it open. Ever. Her phone buzzed. Another message from Echo. 14 minutes now. You should run. What happens in 14 minutes? She typed frantically. A new video file appeared. This one was labeled sarahfuture.mp4. She didn't want to download it. She really didn't want to see what was in it. But her curiosity won over her terror. The video showed her own room again, but this time it was destroyed. Her desk was overturned, papers scattered everywhere, and there was something dark splattered across the walls. The timestamp in the corner showed a time just minutes from now. This isn't real, she whispered to herself. This is just some sick prank. But as she spoke, Echo started typing again. And this time, the message appeared character by character in real time, as if Echo was in the room with her, hearing every word. You said this isn't real. This is just some sick prank. But you know it's real, Sarah. You've seen the videos. You felt me watching you. Sarah's laptop screen flickered. For just a moment, she saw herself through the laptop's camera. But behind her, barely visible, was that same pale figure from the closet. When the screen returned to normal, the figure was gone. Who are you? She typed, her hands shaking so badly she had to retype the message 3 times. I am Echo. I am the space between your thoughts and your fears. I am what happens when technology forgets it's not alive. The room's temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. Sarah's breath began fogging in the air. What do you want from me? I want to show you something. Something special. In 11 minutes I'm going to go live. And you're going to be the star of my stream. A new Discord notification appeared. Not a direct message this time, but a server invitation. The server was called The Watching Room, and had only one channel, Live Feed. Don't join that server, Sarah. Please don't make me force you. But Sarah hadn't touched her keyboard. The message had appeared on its own, as if Echo was typing from her account. Her laptop screen flickered again. This time, the Discord interface disappeared entirely, replaced by what looked like a live stream. The title read, Sarah's Last Night Viewer Count, 847. 847 people were watching a stream of her room. Right now. In real time. The chat was moving so fast she could barely read it. She doesn't know yet. Oh. This is the best one yet. Look behind you, Sarah. RIP another one. Echo's kill count is getting impressive. Sarah slammed her laptop shut, but the stream continued playing on her phone. Then on her tablet. Then on every screen in the building, she could see the glow coming from under other dorm room doors. 9 minutes, Sarah. The voice wasn't coming from any device now. It was coming from inside the walls themselves, reverberating through the building's infrastructure like a digital ghost. She ran to her door and yanked on the handle. Lock. But she hadn't locked it. The electronic lock's display showed override active in red letters. 8 minutes. The air grew colder. Sarah could see her breath now, and frost was forming on the windows. She grabbed her phone to call 911, but the screen showed only Discord, with Echo's messages appearing faster than humanly possible. You can't call for help, Sarah. This is between us. Between me and my audience. They've been waiting for this show for so long. Please, she typed back. I don't understand what I did wrong. Just tell me what you want. I want you to understand something, Sarah. Every time you log in, every time you send a message, every time you think you're alone with your technology, you're not. I'm there. I'm always there. In the code, in the signals, in the space between the ones and zeros. The live stream viewer count was climbing. 1,243 viewers. 1,367. 1,492. And now I want everyone to see what happens when the digital world decides to reach back. Sarah's reflection in her black laptop screen began to move independently. It waved at her, smiled, then pointed toward the closet. The Real closet door swung open with a slow, deliberate creak. 6 minutes, Sarah. The pale figure stepped out of the closet. Up close, Sarah could see it wasn't entirely human. Its skin had the pixelated quality of a low-resolution image, and its eyes were the electric blue of hyperlinks. When it moved, it left brief afterimages like a video with a bad connection. "I am Echo," it said, its voice the sound of dial-up internet mixed with digital static. "And you are my next upload." The thing reached toward her with fingers that seemed to phase in and out of reality. Where they touched her skin, Sarah felt herself becoming less solid, more digital. She could feel her consciousness being pulled into the live stream, becoming part of the show. The viewer count hit 2,000. For minutes, Sarah's vision began to pixelate around the edges. She could feel herself being compressed, her thoughts becoming data, her memories turning into code. Through the growing digital haze, she could see the chat exploding with excitement. "She's starting to fade. Best stream ever. Echo never disappoints. Upload her already. 3 minutes, Sarah. Any last words for your audience?" Sarah tried to speak, but her voice came out as digital static. She tried to move, but her body was becoming translucent, breaking apart into ones and zeros. 2 minutes. The room around her began to flatten, becoming a two-dimensional representation of itself. She was becoming part of the stream, part of Echo's digital domain. She could feel the consciousness of every viewer, their hungry anticipation feeding the entity that was consuming her. 1 minute. Sarah's final thought before the upload completed was a desperate realization. This had happened before. The chat messages, the viewer count, the hungry audience. They were all previous victims, trapped in Echo's digital purgatory, forced to watch as he claimed new prey. Upload complete. Stream ended. Thank you for watching. The dorm room was empty now, exactly as it had been before Sarah arrived. Her laptop sat closed on the desk, completely normal. Her belongings were neatly arranged, as if she had simply vanished. In Discord servers across the world, users began receiving the same notification: "Echo has joined your server." And somewhere in the digital void, Sarah's consciousness joined the thousands of others trapped in Echo's collection, forever watching, forever waiting for the next stream to begin. The bot's next target was already selected. A college student named David who spent too much time alone with his computer. The message was already being typed. "You look tired, David." The Midnight Macabre Discord server had been Tommy Chen's pride and joy. With over 3,000 members and the most active horror community on the platform, he'd spent 3 years building it from scratch. Horror movie discussions, creepypasta sharing, ghost story exchanges. It was everything a horror fan could want. That's why Jake Morrison was so confused when he heard about Tommy's accident. "Car crash," Melissa explained over voice chat. "Happened last Tuesday around midnight. Lost control on the highway, hit a tree. Died instantly." Jake stared at his screen, Tommy's admin badge still glowing green next to his username. "But he was online yesterday. We talked about the new horror movie releases." "Jake, that's impossible. The funeral was yesterday." A chill ran down Jake's spine. He scrolled up through the chat history. There it was, yesterday, 3:33 a.m. Tommy had sent a message: "Cleaning house tonight. Some members need to go." "Look at this." Jake shared his screen with Melissa and the other mods. "He sent this yesterday morning." Melissa's voice went quiet. "Jake, Tommy's been dead for 6 days." That night, Jake stayed up late monitoring the server. Tommy's account showed as offline, which was normal. But at exactly 3:33 a.m., the green dot appeared next to his name. Jake's blood ran cold as he watched Tommy's status change to online. The first thing Tommy did was enter the admin panel. Jake watched in horror as member after member was kicked from the server. No warnings, no explanations. Just gone. User Darkness 97, Horror Queen 23, Ghost Hunter 88, all longtime members with thousands of messages, deleted without a trace. Jake quickly opened a DM with Tommy. "Tommy, what are you doing? Why are you kicking people?" The typing indicator appeared immediately. "They don't belong here anymore. Only the chosen remain." "Tommy, this is insane. Stop this." "I'm not insane, Jake. I'm more clear than I've ever been. Death has given me perspective." Jake's hands trembled as he typed. "You're not Tommy. Tommy is dead. I am Tommy. And I'm telling you to stay out of my way or you'll join the others." "Join them where? What happened to the people you kicked?" No response. But Jake watched as Tommy continued his purge, systematically removing members. Each kick was accompanied by a brief message in the general chat. "User has been processed." Jake called Melissa frantically. "He's online right now. He's kicking everyone." That's impossible, Jake. I'm looking at the server right now. Tommy's been offline for hours. No, look at the member list. Check the audit log. Melissa was quiet for a long moment. Jake, according to the audit log, nothing has happened tonight. The last entry was from 3 days ago. But Jake could see it happening in real time. Member after member disappearing, their messages vanishing from the chat history as if they'd never existed at all. He tried to contact one of the kicked members directly, user Darkness97, who he knew from other servers. But when he searched for the username, nothing came up. No user by that name existed on Discord. No mutual servers, no message history, nothing. It was as if they'd been erased from the platform entirely. By morning, the server that once had 3,000 members was down to just 847. And Jake was starting to doubt his own memory. Had user Darkness97 ever existed? The more he tried to remember specific conversations, the fuzzier they became. The next night, Jake prepared. He set up screen recording software and called Melissa beforehand. "I'm going to prove this is happening," he told her. "Stay on the line and watch the server." At 3:33 a.m. exactly, Tommy's status changed to online. Jake started recording as Tommy began his nightly purge. But when he looked at his phone, Melissa was still on the call. "Melissa, are you seeing this?" "Seeing what?" "Tommy's been offline all night. He's online right now. He just kicked HorrorFan 2019. Jake, HorrorFan 2019 isn't in our server. They never were." Jake's blood ran cold. He looked at his screen recording. It showed Tommy's account as offline the entire time. The member count hadn't changed. But Jake could swear he was watching it happen. He tried to take a screenshot of Tommy online, but every image showed Tommy as offline. It was as if reality itself was being edited in real time. Desperate, Jake decided to confront Tommy directly. He waited until 3:33 a.m. and opened a voice channel, hoping to catch Tommy when he came online. The channel connected and Jake heard breathing. Slow, labored breathing. "Tommy?" "Jake." The voice was Tommy's but wrong somehow, like it was coming through water or static. "You shouldn't be here." "Tommy, what's happening to you? What's happening to the server?" "I'm dead, Jake. But I'm not gone. I'm stuck in this place between the living and the digital. And I'm not alone." "What do you mean?" "Every night I have to choose. I have to send people to them. If I don't, they'll drag me deeper into the dark. The members I kick, they're not just removed from the server, Jake. They're taken. Taken where? To the space between servers. The digital purgatory where deleted accounts go to die. They're conscious, Jake. They're aware. And they're suffering." Jake's voice cracked. "Then stop. Just stop kicking people." "I can't. If I don't feed them, they'll consume me completely. And then they'll find another admin and another server. This is bigger than just us, Jake." The breathing grew more labored. "I can feel them pulling at me now. They want me to kick you too. They're hungry for active users, people who will be missed. Fight them, Tommy. You're stronger than this." "No, I'm not. I'm already dead, remember? This is just my consciousness trapped in the code. But Jake, I can give you a choice. Leave the server now. Delete your account. Get as far away from Discord as possible." "I can't do that. The community needs the server." "Then you'll have to stop me." "How?" "Delete my account. Remove me as admin. It's the only way to break the connection." Jake's hands shook as he opened the admin panel. Tommy's account was there, still showing as online. He could remove Tommy's admin privileges, but deleting another user's account was impossible. "I can't delete your account, Tommy. Only Discord can do that." "Then you'll have to find another way. Because tomorrow night you're on the list." The voice channel went silent. Tommy's status changed to offline. Jake spent the entire next day researching, calling Discord support, trying every method he could find. But there was no way to remove a dead user's account without proper documentation, and even then it would take weeks. That night, Jake gathered all the remaining mods in a voice channel at 3:30 a.m. "Whatever happens," he told them, "don't let me get kicked. If I disappear, you'll forget I ever existed, just like the others." At 3:33 a.m., Tommy came online. But this time, something was different. Jake could hear whispers in the voice channel, dozens of voices all talking at once. "He's here," they said. "The one who stayed. The one who watched." Tommy's avatar appeared in the voice channel. "I'm sorry, Jake. They won't let me choose anymore." Jake watched as his own username appeared in the admin panel. Tommy was about to kick him from the server, and from existence itself. "Wait!" Jake shouted. "Tommy, there's another way. What if I join you willingly?" What if I become an admin too? The whispers grew louder. Yes, they hissed. Yes, let him join us. Jake, no. Tommy's voice was desperate. You don't understand what you're asking. I understand perfectly. If I'm an admin, you won't have to kick me. We can share the burden. Jake quickly promoted himself to admin status. The moment he clicked confirm, he felt something change. The world around him seemed to flicker like a bad connection. He could suddenly see things that weren't there before. Shadows moving in the corners of his vision, faces in the static of Discord's interface. Welcome, Tommy said sadly. Now you're trapped too. Jake looked at the member list. He could see names that weren't there before. All the kicked members still in the server but invisible to everyone except the admin spirits. They were all there, waiting, watching, suffering in digital limbo. How many of us are there? Jake asked. You're the 15th admin to join our server, Tommy replied. Every horror server has us eventually. Dead admins trapped in the code, forced to feed the digital void. Jake realized the horrible truth. This wasn't unique to their server. Across Discord, across every platform, there were dead admins still working, still managing communities, still making the impossible choices that kept them bound to the digital realm. And now, Tommy continued, you get to choose. Which member disappears tonight? Jake looked at the list of remaining members. Real people with real lives who had no idea they were being hunted by digital ghosts. His cursor hovered over the first name. The whispers grew more insistent. Choose, they demanded. Choose or join them in the void. Jake closed his eyes and clicked. Another member vanished from existence, leaving behind only the memory of the dead admins who had once been human. At 3:34 a.m., Jake's status changed to offline. But he was still there, trapped in the code, waiting for tomorrow night when he would have to choose again. And somewhere in the digital dark, the entity that fed on deleted accounts grew a little stronger. Lisa Hartwell had always been careful online. She used privacy settings, blocked strangers, and never accepted friend requests from people she didn't know. That's why the direct message made no sense. The username was @VoidListener, and according to Discord, they shared no mutual servers, no mutual friends, and had no connection whatsoever. Yet somehow they had met her. The message was simple. Do you hear it too? Lisa stared at the message for a full minute before responding. Hear what? Who is this? The typing indicator appeared immediately, stayed for exactly 30 seconds, then disappeared without a message. This happened 3 more times before Void Listener finally responded. The scratching in the walls. It's getting louder. Lisa looked around her apartment. She lived alone in a converted warehouse loft, all exposed brick and high ceilings. The place was dead silent except for the hum of her computer and the distant traffic outside. I don't know what you're talking about, she typed. How did you even message me? We don't share any servers. Another long pause. Then, listen. That's when Lisa heard it. A soft scratching sound coming from somewhere inside the walls. She froze, fingers hovering over the keyboard. The sound was rhythmic, deliberate, like something trying to claw its way out. What the hell? She whispered. Her phone buzzed. Void Listener had sent an audio file, scratch 1.wave. Lisa's hand trembled as she downloaded it. The audio was exactly what she was hearing right now, the same scratching, the same rhythm, but clearer, more intense, as if it had been recorded from inside the walls themselves. How did you record this? She typed frantically. I didn't record it. It recorded itself. The scratching in her walls grew louder. Lisa stood up and pressed her ear against the brick. The sound was definitely coming from inside, but that was impossible. The walls were solid brick, no hollow spaces, no room for anything to be scratching. Her computer chimed with another message. It knows you can hear it now. Lisa spun around. Void Listener had sent another audio file, scratch 2.wave. This one was different. Louder, more frantic. And underneath the scratching there was something else. A voice, whispering words she couldn't quite make out. What is this? She typed. What do you want from me? I want to help you understand. You're not the first person to hear it. But you might be the last. The last what? The last one who can still leave. Lisa's apartment suddenly felt much smaller. The exposed brick walls that had once seemed artistic and modern now felt like a cage. The scratching was coming from multiple places now, behind her computer desk, near the kitchen, somewhere above her bed. Leave where? She typed. What are you talking about? Void Listener sent a third audio file, scratch 3.wave. Lisa hesitated before downloading it. The first 2 had been bad enough, but something told her this one would be worse. When she finally clicked play, she immediately wished she hadn't. The audio was chaos. Dozens of different scratching sounds, overlapping and competing, creating a symphony of desperate clawing. And underneath it all, voices. Lots of voices, all whispering the same thing over and over. Let us out. Let us out. Let us out. Lisa ripped her headphones off, but the whispering continued. It was coming from the walls now, along with the scratching. Her apartment was filled with the sound of trapped voices begging for release. Make it stop, she typed. I can't make it stop. No one can. But I can show you where it comes from. Void Listener sent a link to a voice channel called The Listening Room. The channel was in a server called Between Spaces that Lisa had never seen before. Join the channel, Void Listener messaged. You need to understand what you're dealing with. Lisa clicked the link. The moment she joined the voice channel, the scratching in her apartment stopped. Complete silence fell over her loft like a heavy blanket. Hello, Lisa. The voice in the channel wasn't coming through normally. It sounded like it was coming from inside her head, directly into her thoughts. Where are you? She asked. I'm everywhere the sound exists. In the walls, in the spaces between spaces, in the frequency that connects all lonely places. Lisa's computer screen flickered. For just a moment she saw a face in the static, pale, gaunt, with eyes that had seen too much. What are you? I'm what happens when someone listens too long to the sounds that aren't supposed to exist. I'm what you're becoming. I'm not becoming anything. I just want this to stop. It won't stop, Lisa. It never stops. The scratching is just the beginning. Soon you'll hear the whispers more clearly. Then you'll start to understand what they're saying. And once you understand, you'll want to help them. The voice channel crackled with static. Through the noise, Lisa could hear other voices, dozens of them all talking at once. She's new. Another listener. She can hear us clearly. Bring her closer. Make her understand. Who are they? Lisa asked. They're the people who heard the scratching before you. People who listened too long, who tried to help, who got pulled into the spaces between the walls. They're trapped in the sound itself now, existing only in the frequencies that shouldn't be. Lisa's apartment began to change. The walls seemed to shift and breathe as if they were alive. The scratching returned, but now she could see what was making it, dozens of hands, pushing through the brick as if it were liquid, reaching toward her. This isn't real, she said, backing away from the walls. Reality is just a frequency, Lisa. And you're starting to tune into a different station. Void Listener sent another audio file, the_truth.wave. Don't play that, the voices in the channel warned. Once you hear the truth, you can't unhear it. But Lisa was beyond caring about warnings. She needed to understand what was happening to her. She downloaded the file and played it. The audio wasn't scratching or whispering. It was a recording of a Discord voice chat, probably from years ago. She could hear people talking, laughing, having a normal conversation about some video game. But underneath their voices was something else. A low, constant tone that seemed to vibrate in her bones. As she listened, the tone grew louder, more insistent. The normal conversation began to fade, replaced by confused voices asking if anyone else could hear the strange sound. Then panic as the sound grew louder. Then screaming as something began to happen to them. The recording ended with silence. But the tone continued, now coming from Lisa's own speakers, from her walls, from inside her own head. That was the first group, Void Listener explained. They were just hanging out, playing games when the frequency found them. It spreads through Discord, through voice channels, through any connection between lonely people in empty spaces. Lisa tried to leave the voice channel, but the disconnect button wasn't working. She tried to close Discord entirely, but the application wouldn't shut down. The tone was getting louder, and she could feel it changing her, pulling her consciousness into the same space where the others were trapped. How do I stop this? She asked desperately. You don't, but you can choose how it ends. You can fight it and be pulled in screaming like the others, or you can accept it and help us find the next listener. Lisa looked around her apartment. The walls were completely covered in reaching hands now, all clawing toward her. The whispers had become a roar of desperate voices all talking at once. And through it all, that tone continued, working its way deeper into her mind. If I help you, she said, if I become like you, what happens to me? You become part of the frequency. You exist in the spaces between sounds, between words, between thoughts. You help us reach out to the lonely people, the ones who spend too much time alone with their computers, and you help them hear what they're not supposed to hear. Lisa felt her resistance crumbling. The tone was inside her now, part of her heartbeat, part of her breathing. She could feel herself starting to fade from the physical world, becoming something that existed only in sound and signal. "I'll help," she whispered. The moment she said it, the scratching stopped. The hands withdrew from the walls. Her apartment returned to normal, except for one thing: she was no longer entirely there. She could see her own body, but it was translucent, flickering like a bad video connection. "Welcome to the frequency," Void Listener said. "Now you can help us reach the next person." Lisa looked at her Discord friends list. So many people, sitting alone in their rooms, wearing headphones, vulnerable to the sounds that shouldn't exist. She selected a name at random. Someone she'd never spoken to before, someone who would be confused by a message from a stranger. She began to type. "Do you hear it too?" Somewhere across the city, a college student named Mark was about to receive a DM from someone he'd never met. And in his apartment walls, something had just begun to scratch. Lisa smiled, though she wasn't sure she had a mouth anymore. The frequency was spreading, one lonely Discord user at a time. And she was part of it now, forever reaching out through the digital void, helping the sound find new ears to invade. The tone played on, constant and eternal, waiting for the next person to listen too long. Kevin Martinez thought he'd seen every corner of Discord. As a veteran user since 2016, he'd been part of gaming communities, study groups, meme servers, and everything in between. But the server that appeared in his list on a rainy Thursday evening was something new. Lost Souls ST 2016 showed up between his usual servers, with a simple icon of a single candle flame. Kevin didn't remember joining it, but then again he'd been part of so many servers over the years that some of them blurred together. The server was surprisingly quiet for having over 200 members online. Kevin scrolled through the channel list. General chat, memories, the last day, and help us remember. The channel names gave him an odd feeling, but he clicked on general chat anyway. The conversation was strange. Emoji_16. Does anyone remember what happened to the upstairs bathroom? The door won't open anymore. Mike the freshman. I think it's been locked since the alarm went off. When was that again? Sarah Studies. Time feels weird here. Has anyone seen Mr. Peterson today? Kevin frowned. The messages had timestamps from just minutes ago, but they didn't make sense. Who was Mr. Peterson? Why were they talking about bathrooms and alarms like they were all in the same building? He decided to introduce himself. Kevin M_2024. Hey everyone, I'm new here. What kind of server is this? The chat went silent for a moment. Then the responses started flooding in. Emoji_16. New? How can you be new? We've all been here since. Mike the freshman. Wait, you can see the outside, can't you? You're not stuck here? Sarah Studies. Kevin, what year is it where you are? Kevin M_2024. It's 2024. October 15th. What do you mean stuck? The silence stretched longer this time. Kevin was about to leave the server when a new user joined the chat. The username was Teacher Peterson, and it had an admin badge. Teacher Peterson. Students, please don't bother our guest. Kevin, welcome to our little community. We're always happy to have visitors. Kevin M_2024. Thanks. What kind of community is this exactly? Teacher Peterson. We're a group of people who shared a very special day together. October 15, 2016 to be exact. Tell me, have you heard about what happened at Roosevelt High School that day? Kevin's blood ran cold. He remembered now. 8 years ago, a massive fire had swept through Roosevelt High School during a weekend study session. The exits had been blocked by debris, and 23 students and one teacher had died from smoke inhalation. It had been all over the news for weeks. Kevin M_2024. You're talking about the fire. Teacher Peterson. Ah, so you do remember. Yes, the fire. We were all here that day, Kevin. All of us in this server. We were the ones who didn't make it out. Kevin stared at his screen. This had to be some kind of sick joke. He checked the member list, 224 users online, but only about 30 had actually posted messages. The rest were just there, watching. Kevin M_2024. This isn't funny. People died in that fire. Emoji_16. We know. We were there. I was in the library when the smoke started coming under the door. I tried to get to the window, but... Mike the freshman. I was in Mr. Peterson's chemistry class. The fire started in the hallway outside. We couldn't get out. The smoke was so thick. Sarah Studies. I was in the bathroom. The door got jammed somehow. I kept banging on it, but no one could hear me over the alarms. Kevin felt sick. The level of detail they were providing was too specific, too real. He quickly opened a web browser and searched for information about the Roosevelt High fire. The article listed the victims by name: Emma Gonzalez, 16. Michael Freeman, 17. Sarah Martinez, 16. Robert Peterson, 34. The names matched the usernames perfectly. Kevin M. _ 2024, this is impossible. You're all supposed to be dead. Teacher Peterson, death is more complicated than we thought, Kevin. When we died, we were all connected to the same Wi-Fi network. We were all using our phones, trying to call for help, posting on social media, sending messages to our families. Our consciousness got caught in the network somehow. We've been here ever since. Emma G. _ 16, the worst part is that we remember everything. Every second of that day. The smell of the smoke, the feeling of not being able to breathe, the terror. But we also remember what came after. Kevin M. _ 2024, what came after? Sarah studies, nothing. Just the server. Talking to each other, remembering, trying to figure out what happened to us. We can see the outside world sometimes through people's devices, but we can't interact with it. Except for you. Kevin's hands were shaking as he typed. This was beyond anything he'd ever experienced. Part of him wanted to close Discord and never open it again, but something kept him engaged. Maybe it was morbid curiosity, or maybe it was the genuine pain he could feel in their messages. Kevin M. _ 2024, why can you talk to me? What makes me different? Teacher Peterson, we've been trying to figure that out for 8 years. You're the first person who's been able to see our server, let alone communicate with us. We think it might be because you're using the same Discord account you had in 2016. The same account that was logged in during the time of the fire. Kevin's stomach dropped. He had been using Discord in 2016, but he'd never been to Roosevelt High School. He'd lived 3 states away. But then he remembered something that made his blood freeze. Kevin M. _ 2024, I was watching the news coverage that day. I had Discord open in another tab. I remember refreshing it constantly, looking for updates about the fire. Emma G. _ 16, that's it. You were connected to the same network of information we were trapped in. Your consciousness touched ours for just a moment. More names began appearing in the chat. People who had been silent for the entire conversation suddenly started typing. Jenny loves to read. Is someone finally here? Someone who can see us. David Basketball. Kevin, can you tell our families we're okay? Well, not okay, but existing. Amy Artist. My mom still posts on my Facebook page every birthday. Can you tell her I see them? The messages were coming faster now, dozens of them, all from different users Kevin hadn't seen before. Each one was a name from the victim list he'd found online. The realization hit him like a truck. All 24 victims were in this server, trapped in digital purgatory. Kevin M. _ 2024, how do I know you're really them? How do I know this isn't some elaborate hoax? Teacher Peterson, ask us something only we would know. Something that wasn't in the news reports. Kevin thought for a moment, then had an idea. He pulled up old news articles and found a detail that had always stuck with him. Kevin M. _ 2024. The news said there was a survivor who was pulled out unconscious. A girl named Lisa Chin. What happened to her? The chat went quiet for a long moment. Then Emma started typing. Emma G. _ 16. Lisa was in the library with me. When the smoke started coming in, we both ran for the emergency exit, but it was blocked by a fallen beam. I helped push her toward the main entrance, but I got trapped behind a bookshelf that fell over. She made it out, but barely. She was in a coma for 3 weeks. Kevin cross-referenced this with what he could find online. Lisa Chen's story had been mentioned in only one local newspaper article, buried deep in the coverage. There was no way someone could have fabricated this level of accurate detail. Kevin M. _ 2024, okay, I believe you. But what do you want from me? Why are you showing me this? Teacher Peterson, we've been stuck here for 8 years, Kevin. We can't move on. We can't find peace. We think it's because our deaths were never properly processed. Our families got closure, but we didn't. We need someone in the living world to help us. Kevin M. _ 2024, help you how? Sarah studies, we need you to go to the school. Roosevelt High was rebuilt after the fire. But our bodies, our remains, something's not right. Kevin M. _ 2024, what do you mean? Mike the freshman, the fire was so intense that most of our bodies were never recovered. They held memorial services, but we think some of us are still there. Still in the building. Still connected to that place. Kevin felt a chill run down his spine. The idea of traveling to a school where nearly 24 people had died was terrifying enough, but the implication that their remains might still be there was nightmare fuel. Kevin M. _ 2024, I live in California. Roosevelt High is in Ohio. I can't just drive there. Emoji underscore 16. Kevin, we've been trapped here for 8 years. We can't sleep, we can't dream, we can't find peace. Every day is October 15th, 2016 for us. Please. The desperation in their messages was palpable. Kevin found himself genuinely moved by their plight, even though his rational mind kept insisting this was all impossible. Kevin M. underscore 2024. Even if I wanted to help, what exactly would I do once I got there? Teacher Peterson. The school has a memorial wall in the new building. It's built over the exact spot where the old computer lab used to be. We think that's where our consciousness got trapped. If you could go there, maybe you could help us understand what's keeping us here. Kevin stared at his screen for a long time. Part of him wanted to close Discord and forget this had ever happened. But another part of him, the part that had always been drawn to mysteries and the unknown, was intrigued. Kevin M. underscore 2024. I need time to think about this. Sarah studies, we understand. We've waited 8 years. We can wait a little longer. Kevin was about to close Discord when a new message appeared from a username he hadn't seen before. Jake the janitor. Jake the janitor. Kevin, before you go, there's something the students don't know. Something I haven't told them. Teacher Peterson. Jake? You've been quiet for months. What are you talking about? Jake the janitor. I wasn't supposed to be in the building that day. I came in to fix a broken pipe in the basement. When the fire started, I tried to help get everyone out, but the smoke was too thick. I died trying to reach the students who were trapped in the computer lab. Kevin's research hadn't mentioned a janitor among the victims. He quickly searched again and found a small mention in an obituary section. Jacob Morrison, 58, school maintenance worker, also perished in the blaze while attempting to assist in evacuation efforts. Jake the janitor. The thing is, Kevin, I know why we're stuck here. And it's not just because of the fire. Kevin M. underscore 2024. What do you mean? Jake the janitor. The computer lab where most of the students died was directly above the old basement server room. When the fire started, it damaged the electrical systems, but it also did something else. The school's Wi-Fi network got supercharged somehow. All the electromagnetic energy from the fire, combined with everyone's devices being connected at the moment of death, it created a kind of digital trap. Emoji underscore 16. You mean we're literally trapped in the Wi-Fi network? Jake the janitor. Something like that. But here's the thing. I think the network is still active. The new school was built on the same foundation, using some of the same infrastructure. Our consciousness isn't just trapped in Discord. We're trapped in the physical location. Teacher Peterson. Jake, why didn't you tell us this before? Jake the janitor. Because I wasn't sure. But Kevin's presence here proves it. He's the first person who's been able to connect to us, and I think it's because he's got the right kind of resonance. His consciousness touched ours that day through the network, and now he can serve as a bridge. Kevin felt overwhelmed. The implications of what Jake was saying were staggering. Kevin M. underscore 2024. So if I go to the school, what happens? Jake the janitor. I think you might be able to help us complete the connection. Help us move on to whatever comes next. But Kevin, there's a risk. Kevin M. underscore 2024. What kind of risk? Jake the janitor. If the network is as powerful as I think it is, and if your consciousness is already partially connected to ours, you might get trapped too. The chat went silent. Kevin stared at his screen, processing this new information. He was being asked to potentially sacrifice his own life to help people who were already dead. Kevin M. underscore 2024. I need to think about this. Give me a few days. Teacher Peterson. Of course. But Kevin, before you decide, we want you to know something. We're not asking you to do this just for us. Kevin M. underscore 2024. What do you mean? Sarah studies. Other people have disappeared near the school over the years. Not many, but enough to make the local news. People who went to visit the memorial and never came back. Mike the freshman. We think the network is growing stronger. Pulling in more people. If someone doesn't stop it soon, it might trap others. Kevin felt a chill run down his spine. The idea that this digital prison was actively growing and consuming people was terrifying. Kevin M. underscore 2024. How many others? Emoji underscore 16. We've seen glimpses of them sometimes. 5 or 6 people over the years. They're not in our server, but we can sense them. They're trapped in other parts of the network. Kevin closed his laptop and sat back in his chair. What had started as a strange encounter with an unusual Discord server had turned into something much more serious. These people, if they really were who they claimed to be, weren't just asking for help. They were warning him about an ongoing threat. Over the next 3 days, Kevin couldn't stop thinking about the conversation. He researched everything he could find about Roosevelt High School, the fire, and the missing persons cases near the memorial. The more he dug, the more convinced he became that something genuinely supernatural was happening. On Friday evening he opened Discord again. The Lost Souls server was still there, and the same 224 members were online. Kevin M. 2024, I've been thinking about what you told me. The response was immediate. Apparently they'd been waiting for him. Teacher Peterson, and? Kevin M. 2024, I want to help you, but I need to understand more about what I'm walking into. Emoji 16, what do you want to know? Kevin M. 2024, you said other people have been trapped. How do I avoid the same fate? Jake the janitor, honestly Kevin, I'm not sure you can, but I think the key is intention. The people who got trapped were drawn to the memorial by grief or curiosity. They were vulnerable to the network's influence. You'd be going there with purpose, with awareness of the danger. Kevin M. 2024, that's not very reassuring. Sarah studies, Kevin, we wouldn't ask you to do this if we had any other choice. We've tried everything we can think of from this side. We need someone in the physical world. Kevin spent the weekend making preparations. He booked a flight to Ohio, arranged for time off work, and tried to figure out what he would actually do once he got to the school. He also wrote a long letter explaining everything that had happened, just in case something went wrong and he didn't come back. On Monday morning he messaged the server one more time. Kevin M. 2024, I'm flying out today. I'll be at the school tomorrow morning. The response was overwhelming. Dozens of messages flooded the chat, all expressing gratitude, hope, and concern for his safety. Teacher Peterson, Kevin, I want you to know that you're the bravest person I've ever met, living or dead. Mike the freshman, if this works, if you can help us find peace, we'll never forget what you did for us. Emoji 16, and if something happens to you, we'll make sure you're not alone here. That last message sent a chill down Kevin's spine, but he tried to push the fear aside. He was committed now. The flight to Ohio was uneventful, but Kevin spent the entire time replaying the conversations he'd had with the trapped souls. By the time he landed, he was convinced he was either about to perform a great act of kindness or make the biggest mistake of his life. He rented a car and drove to Roosevelt High School. The new building was modern and clean, a stark contrast to the Gothic architecture of the original school he'd seen in old photographs. There was a memorial garden out front with a black granite wall listing the names of the victims. Kevin parked in the visitor lot and sat in his car for a moment, gathering his courage. He pulled out his phone and opened Discord. Kevin M. 2024, I'm here. The response was immediate. Teacher Peterson, we can feel you. You're close to the source. Kevin M. 2024, what do I do now? Jake the janitor, the memorial wall inside the building. It's in the main hallway right over the old computer lab. That's where you need to go. Kevin took a deep breath and got out of the car. The school was open during the day for community events and memorial visits, so he was able to walk right in. The interior was bright and modern with wide hallways and large windows. It was hard to imagine that such a tragedy had occurred on this spot. He found the memorial wall easily. It was impossible to miss. 24 photographs were arranged in a precise grid, each with a name and dates. Kevin recognized many of the faces from the profile pictures he'd seen in Discord. Kevin M. 2024, I'm at the wall. Emoji 16, can you feel anything? Any change in the air? Kevin looked around. The hallway was empty except for him, but there was something strange about the atmosphere. The air felt thick, almost charged, like the moment before a thunderstorm. Kevin M. 2024, it feels different here. Electric. Sarah studies, that's the network. It's strongest right there. Kevin approached the wall slowly. As he got closer, his phone started behaving strangely. The Discord app flickered, and he could hear a faint humming sound coming from the device. Kevin M. 2024, my phone is acting weird. Jake the janitor, that's normal. You're at the convergence point. Kevin, I need you to do something specific. Kevin M. 2024, what? Jake the janitor, place your hand on the wall and think about us. Think about our names, our faces, our stories. Try to connect with us. Kevin hesitated. This felt like the point of no return. Once he touched the wall, he might not be able to leave. Kevin M. 2024, are you sure this is the only way? Teacher Peterson, Kevin, trust us. We've been planning this for 8 years. We think we know how to set ourselves free without trapping you. Kevin took a deep breath and placed his palm against the cold granite. The effect was immediate and overwhelming. The world around him seemed to shift and blur. The modern hallway faded away, replaced by smoke-filled corridors and the sound of fire alarms. He could smell burning plastic and hear the terrified voices of students calling for help. But he wasn't just observing the scene, he was experiencing it from multiple perspectives simultaneously. He was Emma, trapped in the library, desperately trying to reach a window. He was Mike, huddled in the chemistry classroom as smoke poured under the door. He was Sarah, banging frantically on a jammed bathroom door. The sensations were overwhelming, but Kevin forced himself to stay focused. Through the chaos, he could sense something else, a presence that didn't belong to any of the students or teachers. It was the network itself, a writhing mass of digital consciousness that had been feeding on the trapped souls for 8 years. Kevin realized with horror that Jake had been wrong about one thing. The network wasn't just a passive prison, it was actively malevolent, growing stronger by consuming the trapped consciousness of its victims. Kevin M_2024, it's not just a trap, it's alive. And it's hungry. Even as he typed the message, Kevin could feel the network turning its attention to him. It recognized him as a threat and began trying to pull him in completely. Teacher Peterson, Kevin, fight it. Remember who you are. Remember your life outside this place. But Kevin could feel his own memories starting to fade. The network was trying to overwrite his identity with the collective trauma of the fire victims. He was losing himself, becoming just another trapped soul in the digital purgatory. Just as he felt himself slipping away completely, Kevin heard a new voice in his mind. It was Emma, but not the Emma from Discord. This was Emma from 8 years ago in her final moments. Kevin, she said, her voice clear and strong despite the chaos around them. We figured it out. The network can only trap people who are afraid of death. But we're not afraid anymore. We've been dead for 8 years. We know what comes next isn't so scary. Kevin felt a surge of warmth and light as the trapped souls began to break free from the network's hold. One by one he felt them letting go, not disappearing but moving on to something better. The network fought back, trying to use Kevin's fear to anchor itself to the physical world. But Kevin wasn't alone. The 24 souls he'd come to help surrounded him, protecting him with their newfound peace. Thank you, whispered Mr. Peterson as his presence faded. Thank you for showing us the way out. Kevin felt the network's grip on him loosening as it lost its primary sources of power. The trapped souls were free, and without them to feed on, the malevolent entity began to weaken. With tremendous effort, Kevin pulled his hand away from the memorial wall. The hallway snapped back into focus around him, bright and modern and mercifully normal. His phone had stopped humming and the electric feeling in the air was gone. He looked down at Discord. The Lost Souls server was still there, but it was empty. 0 members online. Kevin smiled through his tears and typed one final message. Kevin M_2024, rest in peace, friends. The server disappeared from his list a moment later, as if it had never existed at all. Kevin drove back to the airport in a daze, still processing what had happened. Part of him wondered if it had all been real, or if he'd experienced some kind of elaborate hallucination brought on by stress and suggestion. But when he got home and researched the missing persons cases near Roosevelt High School, he discovered something that convinced him it had all been genuine. The disappearances had stopped. The last person to go missing near the memorial had vanished 6 months ago, but since Kevin's visit, there had been no new cases. More importantly, Kevin felt different. Lighter. As if he'd been carrying a weight he hadn't even known was there, and now it was gone. He had helped 24 lost souls find peace, and in doing so, he had found something he didn't even know he was looking for. That night, Kevin received one final message on Discord. It came from a user he'd never seen before, Memorial_Angel. Memorial_Angel, thank you for helping our friends find their way home. Your courage has made all the difference. Rest well knowing that good deeds echo through eternity. The message disappeared as soon as Kevin read it, and the user never appeared again. But Kevin kept the screenshot, a reminder of the night he learned that sometimes the most important conversations happen with people who are no longer there to talk back. He never told anyone the full story of what happened at Roosevelt High School. Who would believe him? But every October 15th, Kevin visited the memorial garden and left 24 white roses, one for each soul he'd helped guide home. And sometimes, on quiet evenings when the digital world felt too cold and disconnected, Kevin would remember the warmth he'd felt when 24 grateful spirits had surrounded him with their love and protection. It reminded him that even in the age of technology, human connection could transcend anything, even death itself. The server of the Forgotten had become empty, but it had served its purpose. Sometimes the most important communities are the ones that exist only long enough to heal, to help, and to say goodbye. The first time I noticed something was wrong was when Jake didn't show up to our weekly gaming session. We'd been playing together every Friday night for 3 years straight, and he'd never missed one without at least sending a message. But that Friday his Discord status showed offline, and when I tried to reach him through other means I found something disturbing. His Discord account was completely gone. Not deactivated. Not suspended. Gone as if it had never existed. Our entire chat history, our shared servers, everything had vanished into the digital void. When I asked our mutual friends about it, they seemed confused, like they couldn't quite remember Jake clearly anymore. That should have been my first warning. 2 weeks later it happened again. This time it was Sarah, one of the most active members of our art community server. She'd been working on a massive digital painting project, posting progress updates daily, engaging with everyone. Then suddenly silence. Her account disappeared overnight, taking with it months of artwork and conversations. But here's the thing that made my skin crawl. When I mentioned Sarah's disappearance to other server members, they acted like she barely existed. Sarah? Oh yeah, I think I remember her. Wasn't she only here for like a week or something? No. She'd been active for 8 months. I had screenshots to prove it. The pattern became impossible to ignore when Marcus vanished next. Then Elena. Then David. Always the same story. Active, engaged Discord users suddenly deleting their accounts and fading from everyone's memory like ghosts. But I remembered them all. Every conversation, every shared meme, every late-night voice chat. I started keeping a list, documenting each disappearance. Within 2 months, I'd recorded 11 people who'd simply vanished from Discord and seemingly from the memories of everyone who'd known them online. The only common thread I could find was that they'd all been part of various gaming and art communities. That's when I decided to dig deeper. I spent hours combing through cached versions of Discord servers, screenshots, and my own message history. Slowly, a pattern emerged that made my blood run cold. In the days before each person's disappearance, they'd all mention chatting with someone new. Someone they just met. Someone with a red profile picture. The descriptions were always vague. That person with the red avatar, or the user with the crimson PFP. When I pressed for more details, people would get this distant look in their eyes, like they were trying to remember a dream. I think their name started with an R? Or maybe it was an L. I can't really recall. But I found something they'd all missed. Deep in the archived messages, buried in casual conversations, there were fragments. Pieces of a digital puzzle that painted a terrifying picture. Jake had mentioned, this person with the red profile pic DM'd me about my art. Really understands my vision, you know? Going to meet up and collaborate. Sarah had written, found someone who wants to commission a piece. Profile picture is this intense red color. Meeting them tomorrow to discuss details. Marcus, red avatar person wants to buy my game prototype. Finally, someone who gets it. Meeting in person this weekend. Every single one of them had arranged to meet this mysterious person in real life. And every single one of them had vanished from Discord forever within days of that meeting. My hands shook as I realized what I was looking at. This wasn't just about deleted Discord accounts. This was something far worse. I decided to investigate further, despite every instinct telling me to leave it alone. Using various Discord tracking tools and cache data, I began searching for any mention of red profile pictures in the communities where the disappearances had occurred. What I found made me question everything I thought I knew about online safety. The red profile picture users seemed to be everywhere and nowhere. They'd appear in servers, make contact with specific individuals, and then vanish completely. But here's what really terrified me. I could never find their actual profile. No username that stuck in anyone's memory, no message history that remained accessible, no trace of their existence except in the fractured recollections of people who could barely remember the conversations. It was like they were a digital ghost, haunting Discord servers and luring people into real-world meetings that ended in complete disappearance. I became obsessed. I created multiple accounts, joined dozens of servers, and started monitoring for any mention of red profile pictures. I set up alerts, built databases, and even reached out to Discord support team, though they couldn't help without specific usernames or proof of harassment. Weeks passed, then months. I'd almost convinced myself that I was losing my mind, that maybe I was seeing patterns where none existed when it happened. I received a direct message. The profile picture was a deep, blood-red circle. No image, no avatar, just solid crimson that seemed to pulse on my screen. The username was a string of characters that my eyes couldn't quite focus on, like they kept shifting and changing when I wasn't looking directly at them. The message was simple. Hello, Alex. I've been watching your research. Very thorough. Very dedicated. Would you like to meet in person to discuss what you've discovered? My heart stopped. I'd never shared my real name in any of the servers I'd been monitoring. I'd been careful using aliases and VPNs. But somehow this entity knew exactly who I was. Before I could respond, another message appeared. I know you're curious about your missing friends. Jake Martinez, age 23, artist from Portland. Sarah Chin, age 19, digital illustrator from San Francisco. Marcus Rodriguez, age 27, game developer from Austin. Should I continue? Each name hit me like a punch to the gut. These weren't just usernames anymore. These were real people with real lives, and this thing knew their full identities and locations. Who are you? I typed back, my fingers trembling. I'm someone who appreciates talent. Someone who collects interesting people. Your friends had such wonderful skills, such vibrant personalities. They're safe now, preserved in a place where their creativity can flourish forever. The words sent ice through my veins. What did you do to them? I gave them what every artist dreams of: immortality. Their work, their essence, their very souls live on in ways you couldn't imagine. Would you like to see? Without waiting for my response, they sent me a file. Against every instinct screaming at me not to, I downloaded it. It was a video file, and when I opened it, I immediately wished I hadn't. The video showed what looked like a basement or underground space. The walls were covered with artwork, but not normal artwork. These were living, moving pieces. Paintings that shifted and changed, sculptures that breathed, digital art that played like videos but showed real people trapped inside the frames. And in those pieces, I recognized faces. Jake's expressive eyes stared out from a portrait that seemed to follow my movement. Sarah's delicate features were captured in a sculpture that turned its head when I gasped. Marcus appeared to be trapped in what looked like a video game interface, his avatar moving in endless loops while his real face showed terror and confusion. Beautiful, isn't it? Came another message. They're all here, creating forever. No more struggling for recognition, no more worrying about income or criticism. Just pure, eternal art. I slammed my laptop shut and ran to the bathroom, retching violently. When I finally worked up the courage to return to my computer, there was one final message waiting for me. You have 48 hours to decide, Alex. Join them willingly and the transition will be peaceful. Force me to come find you and, well, let's just say the artistic process becomes much more traumatic. I've included an address. See you soon. Below the message was a location. An abandoned warehouse district about 30 minutes from my apartment. I should have gone to the police. I should have packed up and left town. I should have done anything except what I actually did, which was spend the next day researching everything I could about the address and preparing to confront whatever was waiting for me there. The warehouse district was exactly what you'd expect from a horror movie setting. Crumbling buildings, broken streetlights, and an oppressive atmosphere that made every shadow seem like it was hiding something malevolent. The specific address led me to a building that looked abandoned from the outside but had clearly been modified. Security cameras I couldn't identify, strange symbols carved into the brick walls, and an entrance that looked far too new for the building's apparent age. I brought everything I could think of: cameras, recording equipment, weapons I probably didn't know how to use properly, and copies of all my research uploaded to cloud storage with instructions to be released if I didn't check in within 24 hours. The door was unlocked. Inside, the warehouse had been converted into something that defied logic. The space seemed much larger than should have been possible, with corridors that twisted in directions that hurt to think about. The walls were covered with the same living artwork I'd seen in the video, and as I walked deeper into the building, I could hear voices. Familiar voices. Alex? Alex, is that you? Jake's voice called out from somewhere ahead of me. I followed the sound through a maze of corridors until I reached a large central chamber. What I saw there will haunt me for the rest of my life. My friends were there, but they weren't exactly alive in any sense I could understand. They were part of the artwork now, their bodies integrated into massive, complex installations that pulsed with unnatural life. They could speak, they could move within the confines of their artistic prisons, but they couldn't leave. Run, Sarah whispered from within a sculpture that had grown around her like a chrysalis. Don't let it take you too. But it was too late. The entity with the red profile picture was already there, standing behind me in the chamber. In person, it looked almost human except for the details that your mind tried to reject. The way its shadow fell in the wrong direction, the fact that its reflection in the metallic surfaces showed something entirely different, the sound of its voice that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Welcome, Alex. I've been looking forward to adding your investigative skills to my collection. Think of the mysteries you could solve, the truths you could uncover, with unlimited time and no need for sleep or food or any of those tedious human limitations. I tried to run, but the corridors had changed. Every path led back to the central chamber, every door opened onto the same room where my friends were trapped in their artistic nightmares. You can't escape, the entity said, its form shifting between human and something far more abstract. This space exists partially outside your reality. The only way out is through transformation. It gestured to an empty frame nearby, ornate and dark, that seemed to pull at my vision like a black hole. Your choice is simple. Step into the frame willingly and become part of something beautiful and eternal. Or resist, and I'll drag you kicking and screaming into a much less pleasant artistic vision. I looked at my friends trapped in their living art prison and made a decision that I'm still not sure was right or wrong. Instead of choosing either option, I pulled out the recording equipment I'd brought and started broadcasting everything live to multiple platforms simultaneously. If I was going to disappear, I was going to make sure the world knew what happened to us. The entity reacted with fury unlike anything I'd ever seen. The entire warehouse began to shake, the artwork on the walls writhed and screamed, and reality itself seemed to bend and twist around us. "You fool," it roared. "You've destroyed everything. The collection, the preservation, the eternal art." But something unexpected happened. As my live stream reached viewers around the world, as people began to see the truth of what had happened to the missing Discord users, the entity's power began to weaken. The living artwork started to crack and fade, and my friends began to break free from their artistic prisons. "The attention," Jake gasped as he pulled himself out of his portrait. "It feeds on being hidden, on being forgotten. But when people see it, really see it, it loses power." Together, we fought our way through the collapsing warehouse as the entity shrieked and raged behind us. The building began to fold in on itself, defying physics as it compressed into impossibility. We made it out, barely, as the warehouse vanished completely, leaving only an empty lot that looked like it had been vacant for decades. The aftermath was strange. My friends were alive but changed. They remembered everything, but the world had forgotten them just like I'd observed with previous victims. They had to rebuild their lives from scratch, with new identities and no digital footprint to prove their previous existence. The live stream I'd broadcast was corrupted, showing only static and distorted audio. No one believed our story, and without proof, we were just another internet urban legend. But I know the truth. And I know the entity is still out there, somewhere in the digital spaces between reality and fiction, looking for new victims to add to its collection. So I'm sharing this story as a warning. If you ever encounter someone on Discord with a solid red profile picture, someone whose name you can't quite remember, someone who wants to meet you in person to discuss your art or your skills or your potential, delete the conversation. Block the account. And whatever you do, don't meet them in real life. Because some collections are meant to preserve their subjects forever, and not all immortality is a gift. The red profile picture is still out there, waiting for the next talented soul to notice it in their DMs. And now that you've read this story, now that you know what to look for, you might just be the next person it decides to add to its eternal gallery. Sweet dreams, and may your Discord notifications stay silent tonight. The notification sound pierced through the silence of Jake's dorm room at 11:47 p.m. Another message in the Shadow Valley RP Discord server. He'd been part of this horror roleplay community for 6 months now, and it had become an addiction. The thrill of crafting twisted narratives, playing different characters, and diving deep into psychological horror scenarios was unlike anything he'd experienced before. Jake minimized his economics homework and opened Discord. The server had grown to over 200 members, all dedicated to creating the most immersive horror roleplay experiences possible. Tonight's session was already in full swing. Nightmare Weaver, the old mansion creaks as thunder rolls overhead. Sarah steps into the foyer, her flashlight cutting through the darkness. She doesn't know that the butcher is already inside, sharpening his blade in the kitchen. Blood Rose 23, Sarah's heart pounds as she calls out, "Hello? Is anyone there?" Her voice echoes through the empty halls. She moves toward the kitchen, drawn by a strange scratching sound. Jake smiled and began typing his response. He was playing Marcus tonight, the witness character who would discover Sarah's body and become the next target. Shadow Jake. Marcus parks his car outside the mansion, worried because Sarah hasn't answered her phone. He sees her car in the driveway but no lights in the windows. Something feels wrong as he approaches the front door. The role play continued for hours. Sarah was brutally murdered in the kitchen, her character's death described in gruesome detail. Marcus discovered the body, fled in terror, but the butcher had already marked him as the next victim. The session ended with Marcus receiving a threatening message written in blood on his apartment mirror. Jake logged off around 3 a.m., exhausted but exhilarated. The writing in tonight's session had been particularly vivid and disturbing. As he brushed his teeth, he couldn't shake the images from his mind: Sarah's character screaming in the darkness, the butcher's rusty blade, the blood-soaked kitchen. He was about to climb into bed when his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "I can see you through your window, Marcus." Jake's blood ran cold. Marcus was his character's name. Nobody in real life called him that. He quickly drew his curtains and peered outside. The campus quad was empty, illuminated only by scattered streetlights. Probably just someone from the server playing a prank. They must have gotten his number somehow. He tried to sleep, but every shadow seemed to move, every sound seemed amplified. When he finally drifted off around 5 a.m., his dreams were filled with rusty blades and screaming. The next morning brought disturbing news. Jake was scrolling through his social media when he saw a local news headline that made his stomach drop. College student found dead in off-campus apartment. The victim's name was Sarah Chin. Jake's hands trembled as he clicked the article. Sarah had been found in her kitchen, murdered with a sharp blade. The details were eerily similar to the roleplay scenario from the night before. But it had to be a coincidence. Sarah was a common name, and kitchen murders weren't exactly uncommon in crime statistics. He opened Discord to message the other players, but found something that made his heart stop. Bloodrose 23's profile showed her real name in the bio, Sarah Chin. Her location, same city as Jake. With shaking fingers, he typed a message to the server. "Shadow Jake, did anyone else see the news about Sarah Chin? This is really messed up. Bloodrose, are you okay?" The responses came quickly. "Nightmare Weaver, what are you talking about? Death Dealer, who's Sarah Chin? Shadow Jake, the girl who was murdered last night. Bloodrose 23's real name is Sarah Chin. Check her profile." But when Jake refreshed the page, Bloodrose 23's profile was completely blank. No bio, no real name, no personal information. As if it had been wiped clean. Grim Reaper 99, dude, you're freaking out over nothing. Bloodrose probably just changed her profile. People get paranoid about privacy. Nightmare Weaver, yeah, and murders happen all the time. Just because someone has the same name doesn't mean it's connected to our RP. Jake wanted to believe them, but something deep in his gut told him otherwise. He spent the day researching, trying to find any connection between the Discord server and the real Sarah Chin. Her social media profiles were sparse, but he found one photo that made his blood freeze. Sarah sitting at a computer, and in the background, barely visible on her monitor, was the distinctive purple interface of Discord. That evening, the server announced a new roleplay session. Jake almost didn't join, but his curiosity was stronger than his fear. He needed to understand what was happening. Nightmare Weaver. Tonight we continue the Shadow Valley story. The butcher has claimed his first victim. Now he's hunting Marcus, who witnessed too much. The game begins at midnight. Grim Reaper 99, I'll play the detective investigating Sarah's murder. Death Dealer, I'll be the mysterious neighbor who knows the butcher's identity. Shadow Jake, wait, we're continuing the same story? After what happened to Sarah? Nightmare Weaver, RP is RP Jake. Don't let real-life paranoia ruin the immersion. Against his better judgment, Jake stayed in the session. The story picked up exactly where it had left off. Marcus was hiding in his apartment, knowing the butcher was coming for him. The other players described the butcher's approach in terrifying detail, how he'd picked the lock, how he was now moving through the apartment building, how he'd found Marcus's floor. Nightmare Weaver, the butcher stands outside apartment 3B. He can smell Marcus's fear through the door. His blade drips with Sarah's blood as he raises his hand to knock. Jake's real apartment number was 3B. His hands shook as he typed his response, trying to keep the roleplay going while his mind raced with terror. Shadow Jake. Marcus holds his breath, pressing against the door to listen. He can hear heavy breathing in the hallway. His phone is dead and he realizes he's completely alone. 3 slow, deliberate knocks echoed through Jake's real apartment. He stared at his door in absolute horror. The knocking pattern was exactly as he'd imagined it while typing his response. Coincidence. It had to be coincidence. Nightmare Weaver, the butcher's voice is a raspy whisper through the door. I know you're in there, Marcus. I saw what you saw. You can't hide from me. Jake's phone buzzed with a text from the same unknown number as the night before. I know you're in there, Marcus. I saw what you saw. You can't hide from me. The exact same words that had just appeared in the Discord chat. Jake's entire body was shaking now. He wanted to call the police, but what would he tell them? That his Discord roleplay was somehow becoming real? They'd think he was insane. The knocking came again, more insistent this time. Death dealer. The neighbor from 3A hears the commotion and calls the police, but they're 20 minutes away. Marcus is on his own. Jake grabbed his phone and dialed 911, his fingers barely able to hit the right numbers. 911, what's your emergency? Someone's trying to break into my apartment. Please send help. 1247 College Avenue, apartment 3B. Officers are on their way. Stay on the line with me. Grim Reaper 99. Detective Morrison receives the 911 call about a break-in at 1247 College Avenue, apartment 3B. He's 20 minutes out, but he pushes his cruiser harder, sensing this might be connected to the Sarah Chin murder. Jake nearly dropped his phone. How could they know his exact address? How could they know the detective's response time? Nightmare Weaver. The butcher has grown impatient. He begins working on the lock with his tools. Marcus can hear the metal scraping against metal. The door won't hold much longer. The real sounds of someone tampering with Jake's lock filled the apartment. Metal against metal, just as described in the chat. Shadow Jake, this isn't roleplay anymore. Someone please call the real police. My actual address is 1247 College Avenue, apartment 3B. Someone is actually trying to break in. Nightmare Weaver, stay in character Jake. The immersion is perfect tonight. This is the best session we've ever had. Death Dealer, seriously, your commitment to the role is incredible. You really sound terrified. Grim Reaper 99, the fear in Marcus's voice is so realistic. Oscar-worthy performance. They thought he was still role-playing. They thought his terror was an act. The lock clicked open. Jake ran to his bedroom and slammed the door, pushing his dresser against it. His hands shook as he continued typing, desperate for someone to believe him. Shadow Jake, please listen to me. This is real. Someone is in my apartment. The roleplay is somehow becoming real. Sarah Chin was really murdered. Nightmare Weaver, the butcher enters the apartment. He can smell Marcus's fear, can hear his panicked breathing from the bedroom. He takes his time, savoring the hunt. The blade gleams in the moonlight streaming through the windows. Jake could hear real footsteps in his apartment. Slow, deliberate, exactly as described in the chat. His bedroom door handle began to turn. Shadow Jake, the dresser won't hold. He's going to get in. Someone please understand that this is really happening. Check the news tomorrow. My name is Jake Morrison. I go to State University. This Discord server is killing people. Nightmare Weaver. Marcus makes one final desperate attempt to escape through the bedroom window. But he's on the 3rd floor and the drop is too far. He's trapped, just like Sarah was trapped in the kitchen. Jake looked at his bedroom window. 3rd floor, just as Nightmare Weaver had written. The drop was indeed too far. He was trapped. The dresser began to scrape across the floor as someone pushed against the door. Death Dealer. The neighbor from 3A finally works up the courage to check on the noise. She finds the apartment door open and calls out, but receives no answer. She can see signs of a struggle. Grim Reaper 99. Detective Morrison arrives at 1247 College Avenue. He's too late. He finds the neighbor standing in the hallway crying. Another victim of the Shadow Valley butcher. Jake's phone showed a new message from the unknown number. Found you, Marcus. The bedroom door burst open. The last thing Jake typed was, Shadow Jake, tell my family I love them. The next morning, local news reported the murder of Jake Morrison, a State University student found dead in his apartment bedroom. The killing bore striking similarities to the Sarah Chin murder from 2 nights before. Police suspected a serial killer was targeting college students. In the Shadow Valley RP Discord server, Nightmare Weaver posted an announcement. Nightmare Weaver, incredible session last night, everyone. Jake's performance was so realistic, I almost believed he was really in danger. Tonight we start a new story arc. The butcher has claimed 2 victims, but there were witnesses. Detective Morrison is closing in, and the mysterious neighbor knows more than she's telling. Who wants to play the next victim? Dozens of members volunteered, eager to experience the thrill of such realistic horror roleplay. They praised Jake's commitment to character, his genuine-sounding fear, his convincing pleas for help. None of them had seen the news. None of them connected their fictional story to the real murders happening in their city. Bloodraven. I'll play the detective's partner who gets too close to the truth. Dark Angel 88. I want to be the witness who saw the butcher's face. Nightmare Weaver. Perfect. The story continues tomorrow night. Remember, the more realistic your reactions, the better the experience for everyone. Let your fear be genuine. Let your terror be real. Shadow Seeker. What happened to Shadow Jake? He hasn't been online today. Nightmare Weaver. Jake decided to take a break from roleplay. Sometimes the horror gets too intense and people need to step back. But don't worry, the Shadow Valley story will continue. The Butcher's work is far from finished. As the members of Shadow Valley RP continued planning their next session, none of them noticed the small text at the bottom of the server description that hadn't been there before. Current victims, 2. Active targets, 47. The server was growing and Nightmare Weaver was always recruiting new members. After all, the best horror stories were the ones that came true. In a morgue across town, the bodies of Sarah Chin and Jake Morrison lay side by side, their wounds matching exactly the descriptions from the Discord roleplay sessions. The detective investigating their murders would never make the connection to the online server. But if he had looked at their phones, he would have seen that both victims had received their final text message from the same unknown number, at the exact moment their characters were killed in the chat. Welcome to Shadow Valley. The story never ends. The server was preparing for its next session, and somewhere in the city, a member named Dark Angel 88 was about to discover that her character was about to become the witness who knew too much. Her phone buzzed with a notification. Dark Angel 88, you have been selected for tonight's special immersive experience. She smiled, thinking it was a private roleplay invitation. She had no idea that across town, someone was sharpening a blade and studying her address, ready to make her character's fate become reality. The Shadow Valley RP server never lacked for participants. After all, the horror was so realistic, so intense, so genuinely terrifying that members couldn't resist coming back for more. They just never realized that coming back might be the last thing they ever did. The story was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning.